Hello, welcome to Comedy in a Nutshell, the podcast where I sit down with up-and-coming comedians or lifetime legends to find out what comedy means to them. I chat with rising stars finding their voice, or fringe veterans about what drew them to the stage, what it's like learning the ropes, and how comedy shaped their lives. Because a journey of 1,000 gigs starts with a single joke. I'm the comedy nerd who's seen more than 2,000 different comedians perform live comedy, and you can find out more about my journey in comedy fandom on my website, thecomedynerd.com. Please also take a moment to like, subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast. Thank you. My guest this episode is a wonderfully unpredictable UK-based alternative and character comedian known for his joyful absurdity and fearless stage energy. He's been a staple of the UK's alternative circuit since 2010, regularly performing the Edinburgh Fringe with shows that critics have called joyously bonkers. Whether he's bringing to life his hilariously hapless alter ego Eric Meat or turning everyday quirks into surreal comedy, his blend of heart, chaos and audience interaction has made him a standout voice in character-driven comedy. It's comedian Ali Brice. So if we start right back at the beginning, was comedy a big influence on you when you were growing up?
Massive. I think, you know how some people like discover sports or they discover music, or, you know, I guess they're the two main things, aren't they?
Mm.
And maybe sport, I'm not into sports, so that was always like, I just never was into it.
Yeah.
So when it went, you know, I remember at primary school, like everyone would go and play football at break, and I just didn't. Like, it never even crossed my mind to even like play it. It just wasn't a thing. And then I think one Christmas, people got like Michael Jackson albums for Christmas or something, and I was a bit like, I don't know what that means. But they might have had like older siblings or something, and I'm the eldest sibling. So I was never really into music. And then I just remember kind of seeing comedy on the telly.
Yeah.
And I was just immediately fascinated by it. Like, I loved it. And my dad, he was into like Goons and Spike Milligan.
Yeah.
So we had Spike Milligan books that he'd read us, and I always like was drawn to that. And then I think the earliest memories are like watching Harry Enfield and Chums, and like Alan Partridge, the Knowing Me, Knowing You chat show. Although I remember as a kid, I was watching it. I enjoyed it, but I thought it was real. Like, I didn't understand it was a character.
Yeah.
But then eventually, I think I found Ken Dodd and Lee Evans like on charity shop videos that I'd buy.
Yeah.
And I just was like, what is this? I love it. Like, I just loved it. So I was drawn to it. And then, in primary school, I started being like funny. And I have a very vivid memory of a moment where I made someone laugh. I think I know his name was Joe Bardi, and he went, "Oh, are you going to be a comedian when you're older?" And I just kind of went, "Yeah, I think so." So, comedy's bit. And then I was just like comedy nerd. Seems appropriate to say that. Yeah, it was just something I loved.
Yeah. What happened then? What was the path that went on to lead you to doing comedy?
Well, I think I loved it, and it never seemed like an option. It was always like, I don't know how, it was always like slightly removed.
Yeah.
But I was always watching it. Like, if I came home on a Friday night, like late, I'd always watch, you know, there was live at a comedy store or live at Jongleurs on the telly. So I was always watching it. And then, I mean, you've heard all this from Adam Larter, of course, but I went to uni in Kingston in 2005 and met Adam, and we immediately bonded over, I think the first time we stayed on the same uni halls,
right?
But we were in different blocks, and then I started going out with a girl who was living in his like block. So I'd go and see her, and then I met Adam, and I think the first time I went in his room, he was showing people, they were watching Look Around You. And I went, "Oh, Look Around You." And he was like, "Oh, you know it?" And I was like, yeah, this is great. And so then we bonded over, by that time I was into music. So we bonded over music and comedy.
Yeah.
And then we were at uni for 4 years, because I stayed on and did a master's, and he stayed in Kingston and did a job. But all throughout that time, he was always trying to make stuff and like, oh, we should do this, we should do that, and I just never had the confidence that Adam has. Like he was always making stuff. If you went into his, we moved out of halls and into houses, and he stayed in the same house for I think 2 years. By the end of the 2 years, his lounge was covered in hubcaps that he found on the side of the road and like painted a different design on each one. So he was always making stuff. And I was always like, oh yeah, that's a nice idea. Like, yeah, we should do something. Yeah, totally. And then one day in 2010, I broke up with the girl I was seeing.
Right.
And then I was still at uni in Kingston, and I was very sad. And Adam was doing a job and was proactive as he always is, and said, "Oh, I've booked us into." There was a night called Comedy Virgins at the Cavendish Arms.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I've booked us into that," and I went, "Oh, just to watch, right?" And he was like, "No, we're performing." And I was like, "Oh, right." And he'd written a sketch about it was something like the two of us had asthma and we were part of the asthma society or something. I can't remember. but the way that the Comedy Virgins night works, and I imagine it still does because it's still going, is you get assigned a number and then the numbers are drawn randomly. So you don't know when you're on.
Yeah.
And our number certainly wasn't drawn in the first half. And then it wasn't drawn, for the first half of the second half. And I was absolutely terrified. And I just kept thinking, oh, maybe they'll run out of time. Like I don't think our number's going to get called. And in my head, and I was like, I think I'm quite happy about that. Just happy. And then it got called, and I have to say it's one of the the thrill of it was like the nerves beforehand were just replaced by like utter joy and like utter excitement, and that people laughed, and it was only 5 minutes and it went so quickly. I was just like, I can't believe we've done it. like it was brilliant. And then the night is, if the audience really like an act, they go buy them a drink, and then all the people that get bought a drink go on stage at the end, and then they do like a clap off and someone wins a little plastic trophy. But I'm pretty sure we got buy them a drink. I don't think we won, but that was the beginning. And like I say, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I don't think I quite got that high from performing, and it was a high. Like it was wonderful. And then, however long later, Adam booked him and I onto a comedy course in Greenwich. He just said, "Oh, I've booked us onto this comedy course," and I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then part of the comedy course was like, you're not allowed to perform while we're doing this course. Adam ignored that. He went off and did gigs and whatever. But I was like, "Oh no, I'll stick." And then we did the showcase. It was at Up the Creek in Greenwich, but I don't know, 8 of us performed, and it was like full because we all brought our friends and families, and that was great as well. It was really good. Although I still have the video of that, and I watch it every now and again, and it is terrible. But that is a start, isn't it? And one of the things that on the comedy course, I think they were like, we have to find out what kind of comedian you're going to be.
Yeah.
So like we all stood up in front. There were maybe 10 of us on the course. I think a couple of people dropped out, but people stood up and went, "Well, he looks like a wacky guy, or he looks like," and then I stood up and everyone just kind of went, "Well, you just look like a man." Like, they were like, you just look quite. They were like basically going, "You look boring." And then the comedy teacher was like, "Have you ever thought about maybe a pair of glasses?" And I didn't wear glasses at that time, so I went out and bought I've got these like fake glasses. They look like real glasses, but the lenses are just no prescription. They're just clear lenses.
Yeah.
But that was like my big thing. So I've just got these glasses that aren't even real, as if that like adds an edge to me or something. It's such an odd thing. But I used to carry around these glasses with me. and then look at other glasses and think, oh, maybe those glasses are funnier, or they'll make me. Yeah, it's mad to think. So that was the start of it, and I guess one of my it's not a big regret, but I got very close at uni to doing the Amused Moose comedy course, and my girlfriend at uni was like, "Oh, I'll pay for it if you want to do it." And then I think that would have been 2006, maybe 2007. But in the end, I chickened out. I was like, I just can't. I can't do that. But I do wish I'd had more confidence to start at uni, just because you've got so much free time, and you can go and gig way more and all that stuff. But we're all on a journey, and we start when we start. So and if I hadn't met Adam, I don't think I would have ever got on stage. I'm pretty sure that's true. So I do have a lot to thank Adam for. Yeah. That's how I got into it. But it was always a dream of mine.
Yeah.
But to a point where the people I lived with at uni, we did have separate friends. After uni, when I started doing gigs, and I would invite them, and they were like, "You're doing stand-up?" And I was like, "Surely you must know that this is what I've always wanted to do." And they were like, "Well, no, we knew you loved comedy and everything, but we never knew you wanted to perform it." And I was like, I just remember thinking, that's so odd. Like, I don't know how I. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you said yourself, it was there's nerves and the anticipation of just suddenly being thrust onto the
stage. Yeah. I've just remembered that I went on after uni. I went on my friend got married in the Isle of Man, and we went to the wedding, and my Mike and Guy, my friends, were there, and obviously like a talking point. They're like, "Oh, Ali does comedy," and Mike had seen me at outside the box in Kingston at a very early gig. I remember enjoying the gig, but I think someone must have gone, have you ever seen him? And I was like, yeah, they saw me, blah, blah, and they went, how was it? And Mike just went, well, no one laughed. and I think I've still got that video, and I've watched that back, and he's right, no one laughed. It happens sometimes, but I was still like enjoying the thrill of it. And I guess if you believe in yourself, you've got to keep going. So on a certain level, I did have some confidence in it, but you've got to figure it out, and there's nowhere to figure it out apart from getting up and doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it's almost like braving the stage and being on the stage and then getting off the stage. That whole part of it came first, and then the comedy was added on later.
Yeah. Well, just figuring out, because I think you copy people. So I was copying. Firstly, it was all puns, and I was copying, I guess, Tim Vine, and maybe it was like Surreal Flights of Fancy. So it was like Harry Hill kind of vibes. I was a lot more surreal back in the day. Then it changes over time.
Yeah. So with those first performances then, doing Comedy Virgins and the showcase, was it fair to say then that you got the bug for performance from that?
Oh yeah, massively. From that first gig at Comedy Virgins, like I knew, because I'd always wanted to be an actor as well. That was like my big thing. So I was always in school plays, and like won the drama award at school, which is weird because I was happy being on stage. Like I studied drama at GCSE and A levels. I chickened out of trying to go to drama school, and then at the end of my first year of uni, I looked into changing courses to do drama, but then they went, but you'd have to start again, so you'd have to go back to year one. And I remember going, no, I don't want to do that. But then thinking about it, I stayed on and did a master's, so I did the same amount of time anyway. But I was always happy on stage. I guess you're saying other people's words, and you're doing a character, and then you're in a cast of people.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different. But the idea of doing comedy was just too much. But the bug was, as soon as I started doing it. Yeah. I mean, it's a slippery slope. In the best way. I loved it.
Yeah.
Like lube that slope up, and I'll I'll slide down it as fast as I can. Yeah. The bug. And then I kind of recently I've been. I'm jumping ahead, but
Mm.
it's a tricky relationship because I love it, and then it's hard because I guess you go on stage like with a dream.
Mm.
Well, some people do. I went on stage with a dream
Mm.
of being like a comedian, like that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then that never like it is hard to do it, and then you see people like succeed. Like I think I was at Rob Beckett's first gigs,
Mm.
and he just like soared to the top. Um, but everyone, there was just something about him. Like everyone was like, this guy's got star quality. I remember I was at a Monkey Barrel gig, and Martin Besserman was emceeing, and Rob Beckett did his like 5 minutes, and then basically Martin Besserman came on and went, "Yeah, that guy's got it.
Mm.
He's going to be a star. That's how you do it." And he never didn't say that about any of the other acts. So everyone was like, Rob Beckett just had something, and within a year he was like, massive,
Yeah.
and now he's even more massive. And you're kind of like, oh, what, how do I do that?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then other people get more and more successful, and you're like, oh, this is,
Yeah.
it's hard, but also now I'm older and I'm like, oh well, well Beckett was a star from the get go,
Yeah.
but other people are like, oh, they worked really hard.
Yeah.
They worked harder than I did, and like really really went for it. Whereas I was always just kind of bumbling along and like just enjoying
Mm.
doing it, which is where I'm at now. I'm never gonna quit.
Well, this is one of the unique things about comedy
Mm,
is like you said, like being a fan of music, for example. So music, if you want to play music, you have to study and you have to work on it,
mm,
and but if you want to do comedy, you just start doing it.
yeah,
And also you can't get good at it without doing it. Whereas you
yeah,
can if you're a musician, you can rehearse, you can do
yeah,
things all offline and then go out and do a polished performance. But for a comedian,
yeah,
you have to do it again and again and again badly to get it right.
yeah,
So it's quite unique and interesting that it's one of
yeah,
those strange paths where you can do it immediately, but you won't be good at it until you've done it and done it and done
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, some people are really
Well,
good out the gate. Some
yeah,
people, but yeah, you do have to keep going.
yeah.
And I think I remember listening to an interview with Russell Kane
Mm.
ages and ages and ages ago, and he said something like, "Well, if you do comedy and you're not getting paid work within like a year, and then you're not like a comedian within 5 years, you should probably just like admit that it's just a hobby or just stop." And I was just like, "Oh wow, is that what you should do? Maybe I should." Like it's hard to
Mm.
listen to, but obviously that's nonsense.
Yeah.
You should just do what you want to do,
Yeah.
regardless of whatever level of success you
Mm.
get to.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, having watched all this comedy and then having started doing comedy for yourself,
Mm.
did you have sort of expectations going into what being a comedian meant? Did you encounter any surprises along the way?
Uh, not really. I think I because we went to uni in Kingston,
Mm.
and there was a comedy club called Outside the Box, which was like that was my first exposure to like live comedy and circuit comedians.
Hmm.
Before that, it was all stuff on TV, and I guess I'd read the DVDs of like their finished shows,
Yeah.
and that's what I'd see. I didn't really know about, apart from watching, live at the Comedy Store and live at Jongleurs. But even then, I didn't know they were circuit comedians. I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't really understand that world.
Yeah.
But then I go to Outside the Box, and again, it was we were spoilt because I think the first time I went to Outside the Box, I saw Frank Skinner,
Yeah.
and then over the years, I saw Dara O'Brien and Andy Parsons, Bill Bailey, Jimmy Carr, like Russell Howard when he was on his way up, Robin Williams,
Mm.
as in Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams. So it was absolutely mad, the people we saw.
Yeah.
But I'd also see, I'm trying to remember, like some of the circuit, the Glenn Wool, Joe Bohr, Paul Foot. There were loads of too many to remember. 2 episodes of MASH,
Hmm.
before they were famous, not Ginger and Black. there's loads. There's too many, to remember. And that I have just named all men. Unfortunately, Lucy Porter we saw, great ones. But then through that, Matt Brown, he was the host, and I got friendly with him. He was very kind to me, and he was like, "You've got to get your 5 minutes, then you've got to get your 7 minutes, then you've got to get your like 10 minutes." So I was very much like, "Oh, you've got to play by the rules." And every time I do a gig, I've got to hone this 5 minutes to make sure it's, good. Whereas Adam, you remember from talking to him, like completely was like, "I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to do a different 5 minutes every time I do a set." And I was like, "What are you doing, Adam? That's not how you do it. That's not the way it works." So I was kind of like, "I've got to do this," and then I started doing mirth control gigs and like trying to do things like that, and going and doing open spots and stuff. Which I look back now, and I was doing it. In terms of like being a comedian, like I was doing all the right things. And I never really, I don't think I was very kind to myself, because I look back and I was like, "Oh, you were doing it, Ali. You were driving like, doing 8-hour round trips to do a 10-minute slot, and you did the 10-minute thing, and the promoters were going, 'Oh, we'd love to get you here, here, and here.' Or one of the other comedians was like, 'Can I get your email address? Because I think you'd have a good gig here.' But I never ever followed through. Or Jeff Whiting, who runs Mirth Control, would be like, 'Yeah, send me your email, because I've got some gigs you'd be really good for.' And I just never ever emailed them. But and it was like a lack of confidence. I never followed through, and I never, for whatever reason. So I look back and I'm like, you did have these like opportunities for things, but I don't think the life of a circuit comedian is a life I could have handled, really, because I don't like. I'm pretty shy in real life. I hate being in a green room, like walking into a green room and seeing all the like meeting all the comedians before the show. Like I just want to sit in a corner and like not talk to anyone. And they're all like sharing comedy stories of the circuit, or they're on, and they're just like, well, they're just people who are happy to chat, And I don't have that, and I just was like, I can't do this. So my lack of confidence and I guess people skills kind of stopped me. And then I do my thing and get out as early as possible. And I'd always try and travel to gigs on my own. Like I don't want to be in a car with, other comedians, again, because it just fills me with absolute anxiety. But that's where you hear people, that's where you make friends, isn't it? And people are like, "Oh, I've been in a car with Josie Long, and we're chatting about things, and we're doing this and we're doing that." And it's just like, "Oh, right, yeah. It's networking, isn't it? To a certain extent, which I'm just not very good at." So I just kind of stopped doing that. And then I guess I started going to the Fringe in 2010, and then I was like, "Oh, this is what I love." I like working on something and then going to the Fringe and doing an hour-long show, because you can do what you want, and you're limiting the amount, I guess, but I've not thought about that, but you're limiting the amount of people you have to interact with. Or I discovered Weirdos when Adam set up Weirdos, and then you kind of have an automatic, and they're all like, we're more on the same wavelength, and it was like a really big gang of people that were just all like in it together, and you're like, I found my people, and I like this. I like this quite a lot.
That's interesting, because you do a lot of crowd work. You are interacting with strangers all the time. So is that more because you're on stage and you're like afforded the safety of the stage, and that's the character of you for interacting, and not you?
I think so.
Yeah.
So I started doing puns, and then I did prop comedy. And the truth is, again, the first 3 times I went to Edinburgh, 2010, 11, and 12, I did the same 20 minutes. I did a show with me, Adam, and a guy called Mark Stevenson. He was very, very funny, but he just couldn't hack the like. He got some bad reviews completely undeservedly, and was like, I've got to do something else. So I did a show, and then the second year it was me and Mark, and then the third year it was me and a guy called David Bussell. But I did the same 20 minutes each time, and I was like, pointless. And then then me and Adam did a play. So I think Adam was like, I want you to come to the Fringe. I was like, I don't think I'm going to go. And he went, well, let's do something together. And then 2014, I did a character called Eric Meat. But I'd like had jobs, lost jobs. I was a bit of a like lost cause, I guess. So I was signed up to do a PGCE in Chichester that started in September 2014. So I thought to myself, I may as well do one show at the Fringe just to say I've done it. And then I'm probably not going to do comedy again because I'll live in Chichester and I'll be a teacher. So I went to the Fringe and I did Eric Meat Wants to Go Shopping, like a mad character comedy show. But in that, and I can remember the first show, I was like, what am I doing? It was in the Hive in Edinburgh in the small room, and the room was full. And I was like, this is mad. This is crazy. Like, what? And I went on stage as Eric Meat, and I was like, started doing the show. And then I just started like chatting to people, and I was like doing crowd work, like just making up. And I can remember going, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know how I'm doing this, but this is like working for me. And then it just built over that first 3 weeks, and then I was like, well, I just discovered this thing I could do, and it was because I was Eric Meat. I was able to talk to people, and then it slowly, the character faded away, and I started doing it as myself. And then I just love. It's my favorite thing to watch is crowd work. I love it. I just think it's when it works, it's absolutely fantastic, and it can't be repeated again. Well, I guess there are certain tricks to it when you discover a bit that you can definitely do. But I'm sure it's born out of the fact that I can't talk to people in real life. And I just find it absolutely thrilling. But it did get to a point where I was like, I've got to start writing something again. You can't just go on stage and do crowd work all the time, as much as I'd love to. Yeah.
You mentioned about joining the Weirdos Collective, and again, it's scripted. I'll use it broadly.
Yeah.
But you are, as you say, among friends, and you're all just having a lot of fun. But you've afforded that sort of protection of being part of an ensemble, and it's not just you. So you can be an actor of a character, or you can be a solo character, and all of these things afford you that sort of, I don't know, comfort. Is it?
Yeah, comfort. We're part of the weirdo. Being part of Weirdos is like you just feel safe because everyone's got the same goal to just have fun, and it's not competitive. Or I mean, I'm sure it is, and people want to make be the funniest one, I guess, but it's not really it's not really competitive because you're all like part of the same whole and doing the thing. Whereas I guess stand up is quite competitive to a certain extent, and I guess I just don't have that like killer instinct really to be the best. So well, you use the word fun there about working with the Weirdos, and for me, watching Weirdos is just fun. It's just like a bunch of good friends having a great time on stage, it looks like, and that's really enjoyable. But I mean, you've been doing comedy for many years now, and is it still as much fun? Because we talked about the anxiety, we talk about being a character and being sort of outside yourself. Do you get intrinsically that joy out of doing it, or is it now more of a work situation? Oh no, it's still. What you saw the show last night. Before I left, I was talking to my girlfriend, and I said, I said, I don't think I like this anymore. But that's not what I said. But I said something like, I was like, I don't get the joy from it that I used to. I'm not sure I want to keep doing this. And I could see her going, in her head, I think she was going, well, I think you're talking nonsense. I don't think this is true, but I certainly, also part of it is I don't like the process. Like if I have a gig in the evening, my day is ruined. And I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like doing my work or whatever, and I'll go, why have I got that like low level anxiety? And then I'll go, oh, I'm doing a gig later. And then I'll try and get on with my day and I'll go, oh, I've just got to do that gig later. And I just, it's just, it ruins it's such an exaggeration, but it's just there and you're like, oh, Christ. And I used to get like really nervous all day. And now the nerves just come like immediately before. So if you'd seen me waiting in the room before you all came in, I was saying to Charlie, Vera Martin, who was also on, I was like, I'm in that place of like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it? But then when I get on stage, I have a great time. So there is a reward there, and I do love doing it.
Yeah.
It's such a strange. I think the problem is there's also tied into this is the fact that I'm a completely different person from when I started. I mean, we all are. It's like however long ago it was, 15 years. But there was a big period in the middle where I was drinking a lot, and that became my focus. And I'd go to the Fringe, and drinking was the main goal, and the show was just an annoying thing I had to do every day for me to be up in Edinburgh and get as drunk as I possibly could. And there's like a depression in there and, stuff. And now I've quit drinking and I've been through therapy. So I'm a lot happier within myself. So I don't need, I think comedy was something that I needed. And like my whole identity was tied into the fact of, I am a comedian and I am funny and I need everyone to know that. And this is where I get my happiness. And I think that's true. And that's quite a dangerous place to be, I think. But then over lockdown, I quit drinking and I did like 2 and a bit years of therapy. And I'm now with Beth and I'm very happy in my life. And suddenly comedy doesn't have that like hold over me that it used to, which I think is probably quite good. Like that's a good thing. That is a very good thing. So now I just have to, I guess I do worry that I'm not funny anymore, and I worry that I don't know what to talk about, because it's easy to talk about things that it's easy to go on stage and be like, oh, I'll talk about that, like it's not that I ever moaned about things, but it's like, oh yeah, I'll talk about that and that'll be funny. And now I kind of go, what am I going to talk about, because my life's all right, my life's fine. That's kind of a boring thing to talk about. And also, ever since I started watching comedy, if it was on the TV or if I saw it live or wherever I saw it, I'd always be in the audience going, I'd like to be doing that. I wish I was up there. And not in a like, I could do that better. Just, I'd like to be doing that. And the other day I went to watch a show, and for the first time and I was enjoying it. It was Stamptown at the new Walthamstow Soho. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. It's huge. I was like, it's really fancy. Anyway, I was watching Stamptown, loving it. But I just caught myself and I was like, I wasn't having that feeling of going, I wish I was up there. And that's the first time ever. And then I was like, that's a really weird feeling for me to not have. I was just like, I'm just happy being here. And then I was like, what does that mean? And recently I've been missing just being a comedy fan, because I used to watch comedy and like be completely absorbed by it. And then like really just, when you forget you're in an audience and you're just like laughing and it's like wonderful. I really miss that kind of, because the more you watch and if you do it, you're kind of looking at it going, trying to figure out where it's going to go, or you're like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I like that bit. And that's that technique there. And, you kind of like start analysing it. And I really miss not doing that, which happens less, but it happens the only times I've been properly absorbed in recent years is Ed Axel.
Yeah.
Always gets me. Dr. Brown's award-winning show was just like, I was just swept away. John Kearns does it, but it's very rare that you and I really miss that. So I was thinking recently, like, I wish I could just go back to being a fan.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Fringe, because you've been back time and time again. And how
Yeah.
has your relationship overall with the Fringe changed over that time and up until this year?
Yeah. Well, those first 2014, the show just happened.
Yeah.
I got no idea where it came from. It came really easily. And I talked to Adam about this the other day, and he went, "Well, you just lent in." And I went, "What do you mean?" He went, "You just like lent in and you did it." Like, I was like, "All right, maybe." And then, yeah, 15, 16, I did Eric Meet Again, and they were hard. It was hard because I think I was trying to chase the initial. I was trying to rewrite the first show again, and I just never. I didn't really manage it. And then so that's 15, 16, 17. Then I started trying to do like combine stand up with character comedy, and I was trying to like talk about more personal things.
Yeah.
I was just going through stuff, and I never really managed to make it work. It was always a bit like disconnected and a bit just a bit bitty, like it was odd. And then obviously I was talking about how the Fringe just became it was just all about partying and getting as drunk as possible, basically. And then 6, 7, yeah. Then my agent dropped me. So in 2014, I got a 4-star review from Chortle, and then the next day at the end of the show, someone came up to me and went, "Here's my card," and I was like, "All right," I put it away. And then I was going to be a teacher, but I got this card out in September, and I was like, "Oh, what's this thing?" And it was like someone from United Agents, which is a huge agency. And I emailed them and went, "Oh, hi, you left me a card, blah blah blah." And they went, "Yeah, come in for a meeting." I went in for a meeting, and they went, "Yeah, we'll sign you." And I was like, "Okay, right." So then I had to say to my mum, "I'm not going to be a teacher. I'm going to see where this goes." You know, I actually followed up, and I had no idea who United Agents were. Like, and people kept saying, "You're with United Agents," and I was like, "Yeah." Like it just happened. But I really thought that was it. Like I thought I'd made it, and I thought that's it. The path's going to be paved with gold. But no one told me that's when you like knuckle down and like you write stuff and you say to your agent, "I've got this idea and I've got this and I've got that," and you really put the work in. And I thought the agent did all that like for you. I thought they got you auditions, and you know. So that was 2014, and then my agent was like, "Oh, I've got a meeting for you with this production company," and I was like, "Oh, cool!" Like, they obviously want to work with me, so I'm going to meet them, and they're going to tell me all the ideas they have of like what we could do together. And I went to these like several of these meetings, and like it didn't say anything, and I didn't know until years later when I started going out with Beth, because she used to work for an agency, and she was like, "Oh no, those meetings are where you take all your ideas and you say, I've got this thing I could do, or this character." And I was like, "Oh my God." They must have thought I was an absolute idiot, but I was so naive. I had no idea. And then she dropped me, and I knew it was coming. Like, I'd been with her for 4 years. So then she dropped me, and then I was like, right, like I need to get an agent again, because I think in the 4 years I got one advert, and adverts pay very well, and I was like, and my job history is at that point was bad. I'd got a lot of jobs, and I'd lost a lot of jobs, and I was really like I had loads of credit card debt. I was paying my rent on a credit card. Like, I was getting money out the cash machine and then going into the bank, putting it in my account, and then paying my rent, and just going, "Oh my God, I can't. This is bad." So 2018, I went to the Fringe and I was like, I've got to get another agent. So I worked really hard on the show, and I got a director, my friend Johnny Freeman. He was like, I'll direct it for free. And that's the first time since 2014 that I worked. This is 2019. This is 2019. Been wondering, and I worked really hard. And I told a story of giving up drinking. The time I got locked out of my house, but I was in my boxer shorts, and but Adam had told, I lived with Adam at the time, and he was like, I'll be home at like 10 a.m. tomorrow. And I think I just put something in the bin at like 8 a.m. and was like, oh, well, Adam will be home soon, so I'll just like wait outside. And I was, it's so cold that I got in a wheelie bin to try and keep warm. And I was like, as I got in the wheelie bin, I went, I think I just found my Edinburgh show. But my point is, I stopped drinking and I worked really hard, and I got a new agent, and I'm still with her now. I'm probably not working as hard as I should, but I'm happy with what's going on. Like I'm in the mix for adverts and stuff. And then it was lockdown.
Yeah.
Then I had 2 years to write a show, and I did a show all about a suicide attempt in 2018 and therapy and all that stuff. And in that show, it went really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember thinking, I really wish I'd been working this hard all those years ago at the Fringe, because when you put in the work, you get the results.
Yeah. You
can't just go to the Fringe with like this silly like character comedy show and like expect the world. When you put the work in, it works.
Yeah.
But I had 2 years to do it because it was lockdown, and I was lucky enough that I worked for a company that their head office is in Australia. Right. So all my work is on Zoom anyway. Mm. So when lockdown happened, it didn't really make any difference. Work just carried on the same. Mm. So I had an income all throughout lockdown, and then I did that show, and it did Soho Theatre and all this stuff. It was great. I performed it in Estonia. Mm-hmm. It went all over the place, and I was like, this is great. And then I didn't go to the Fringe I did a week in 2023, and then I didn't go in 2024 because I was just like, good life things, brilliant things. We bought a flat, we got a dog, things take over. Like I got a full-time job. My life literally turned around from like 2018 being in debt and trying to end it to now. Yeah. The priority shifts. And the Fringe wasn't calling me like it used to, in that like, oh, I have to go to the Fringe because that's what I do. Yeah. And I think August 2024 is the first time I haven't been to the Fringe since 2010. And when you don't go to the Fringe, you're like, oh, like no one cares. Like in terms of when you're at the Fringe, it feels like that's the whole world.
Yes.
And like everyone must be talking about this, and like it feels so exciting. But when you're outside it, you're like, oh no, that just happens. That's just a thing that happens. And like, we can go on holiday, and things carry on. And also, it's still there. You can go again next year. Yeah. This is a long waffly answer. I hope it's making any sense. But then I went again in 2025, but I did Eric Meet again. Yeah. Because someone went, oh, I really loved it when you did Eric Meet. Why don't you do that anymore? And I thought, I'll do that then. And then I thought, I'll make it a crowd work. Well, I booked in loads of previews, and all my previews, I just did crowd work as Eric Meet. And I was like, okay, it's going to be a crowd work show. Let's see, that's where it's going. You're not doing any of the stuff you've written. And then I did a crowd work show, and it was hard. And I was like, I don't think I'll do that again, but I think it was a worthwhile experiment. And then, but I liked being at the Fringe. Although it is very strange going to a place that you've gone to a lot, especially as a completely different person, because I don't go to any of the bars. I don't really hang out with people that much. I kind of keep myself to myself. I see a few friends and do a few things, and I have a nice time, but it's a very different thing. And I think I need to really go with a fully written show, and then at least I know I have that, because doing a crowd work show was hard. The highs were high, but the days it didn't work were hard. And also I realized usually by the end of week one, you've got the show like in your head, and you know it. You can have that locked away, and then you can go, oh, it's showtime. I'll just get that out and I'll do that, and then I can put it away and get on with my day. But when you're doing a crowd work show, you're like, oh, this is hard work now. I've got to try and muster this, like, energy and find things, and it's tough. So yeah, I did enjoy it, but it was a different experience. And now I think when you go, and it's so expensive. Well, I do it fairly cheaply because I do a PBH free fringe, which the only costs are getting up there, accommodation and living costs, which are obviously expensive, but I'm not paying $5,000 to put on a show. So, and I also worked, I did my day job while I was up there. So, I like mitigated as much as I could. So I didn't spend too much. But if I go again, it will have to be with a properly written, thought out show that will have elements of crowd work, because obviously, but it won't be. It'll have to be like 10% crowd work, 90% written show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from all of those massive highs and lows then in all this time, where are you at your happiest? When are you most comfortable?
In comedy or just in life?
Wherever your instinct takes you. But I mean, I'm thinking really, like, I don't think it's in the writing. Is it being on the stage? Is it being in a character? Or
no, I love being on stage, and I love making people laugh. So I think to say, just to go back to that conversation with my girlfriend, where I was like, I don't think it's my happy place anymore, or I don't think it's I think it used to be my ultimate happy place. I think I used to think that is where I am the happiest. And I don't think that is where I'm at my happiest. I think it's where I have the most fun. Well, there are equal things. Like I have the most fun just being at home with my girlfriend and my dog, but equally I have as much fun being on stage making people laugh. Like, I love it, and I don't think I will stop. But I'm only really reminded of that every time I go on stage. So last night, if you'd spoken to me in the morning, I would have been like, nah. If the Museum of Comedy had called up and said, oh, you don't have to do the gig tonight, I would have gone, great, cool, let's pull it. But I'm so glad we went ahead and did it, because I had a great time. I did a lot of crowd work, but I also did some of my ideas, and I was like, oh, they worked. Like, I can do it, and if I write something, it could be good. So I'm always reminded of it on stage, and then I come off and go, oh yeah, I'd like to do that again. So I am happy on stage, and I would like, because I did, like, I've done the Soho Theatre once, and Beth went, oh, is it a case of like you've done the Soho Theatre, so you've like ticked that off and you don't want to do it again? I would like to do it again, and I would like to take a show on tour. Like, I'd love to do that. I don't think I'd like that to be the only thing I do, as in terms of that is my job. I think then it suddenly takes on a different thing. And I think I need to have, like, I like my job. I work for Movember. I like the people I work with, but it's like a safety kind of thing. I like the routine. I like knowing I have that as a thing, because I guess I've been at a place where, I don't have anything, and I don't want to go back there. So I do need as much as I would be like, oh yeah, I'll quit my job and I want to do this, I think I need something to like ground me and well, pay the mortgage. Sure. I can't imagine being in a position where I'm like, what am I going to do this month? Maybe we'll see what happens.
What's the lesson then? What's the one thing that you would go back to yourself, having done this comedy course and this showcase? What would you say to yourself then, given these 15 years of experience? The one lesson that you've taken from that all that time?
Um, I would go back and I'd say don't drink as much. But in terms of quiet, so you keep going. Like it will be hard,
Mm,
but you are good at it, and you do get better.
mm,
You've just got to keep the momentum going, and you've got to treat as much fun as the fringe is. You've got to balance that out with like take it seriously.
mm.
You know, take it seriously and like put the work in.
Yeah.
You know, because if you put the work in, it works, and you'll probably won't lose that agent if you work, because you have to say to that person, you did your first show and United Agents signed you.
Mm,
That's mad. That isn't something that happens to many people,
mm.
and that is ultimately, if you're not being nominated or winning,
Yeah.
being signed by United Agents
Mm,
is like a dream,
mm,
and you had that happened for a reason, because they saw potential in you and you're good.
mm.
Don't rest on your laurels. Like knuckle down and work, and don't get pissed all the time. You know. But I think there was just to go back to that, I think there was an assumption from the person that signed me that I knew about like the industry. I had no clue.
Yeah.
I was just like, she went, "Oh, you're probably getting loads of offers, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I was, "Oh yeah, loads." I was like, I didn't have a clue, but I think other people, if you've been to like drama school, or you just know, I think people nowadays are a lot more clued up on like, these are the things you have to do, then you get an agent, then these are the things you do.
Mm.
I don't know, but I didn't have a clue. And maybe if I talked to more people, they would have gone, right, now these are the things. Like
Right.
these are the things. Whereas I was just like, kind of like, oh yeah, cool, whatever. You know. Um, I'd say work hard and believe in yourself. I think
Yeah.
is what I'd say to my young self.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should be saying it to myself now, to be honest with you, as I'm saying it. Yeah, and it's what Adam would always say. Adam would just say, "Put pen to paper," because
Mm.
you'd never, like, until you do that, you never know. But I just abandon that, and try and work it out on stage, which is a long process, but it works for me.
Yeah. So what then do you think in all these 15 years so far have been the worst and best moments that you've had through comedy?
Oh, through comedy. Well, the best moments have to be the weirdos plays,
Mm.
like especially back in like 2012 when we did Hook on stage,
Mm.
and then the Colonel Sanders origin story. Both of them were at the Bethnal Green Working Men's Club, but it was just like we didn't know what we were doing, and it was so much fun. But then when I think we did a few years at it was Throgmorton Street in like around Bank. I don't know what it was, but it was like a derelict kind of club, or used to be a wine bar, but it was huge.
Mm.
And then it wasn't just weirdos, like it was like loads of comedy in there, and it was so much fun. Like, just you really felt like you were like part of this mad like thing that we were pulling together, and I just like the industry of it, and like
Mm.
Adam's dad built a stage. I've got a memory of this guy called Luke, like trying to put a light on a ceiling, but it was like two ladders on top of each other, like balanced on a table, and you're like, this is dangerous, like, but like we're doing it, and all the people you meet there, like Kearns, Lucy Pearman, Luke
Mm.
McQueen, Harriet Kemsley, there's Katia Finger, Martin Quinn, Alwyn, and like everyone was like, it was so much fun. I loved it. Um, but then obviously you get older and people, go off and have to do their like proper careers, like comedy careers, or other people have to get jobs, or people have babies and get married, and it's just like we just had time.
Yeah.
Just had time to make stuff, and everyone would hang out all weekend because no one had anywhere to be. It was really, really, really good fun, and I'm like cherish those memories.
Mm.
Um, the first Eric Meets show, like I just couldn't believe I'd done it, like, and it went well. Like I loved that.
Yeah.
And 2022, when I worked really hard and finally like talking about the real me and mixing it with like being silly, like worked properly.
Yeah.
Like I loved it, and it was like there are those moments on stage where everything is just working.
Yeah.
And I say to I would say to the director, like, oh yeah, I felt like a comedian today. Like I just was like I was in it. So I live for those moments where you're like, oh yeah, this is like, that's where you're like living the dream basically in those moments. But a lot of the time you kind of also think, oh, right, what comes next? I've got to do that. Oh, he doesn't look like he's having a good time. Or what's that noise over there? But then there are those moments where it's just like, it's just it. And I love it. Bad moments. Honestly, I've died on stage. You know, I know no real like bad moments. There's more moments, and they're less frequent now. But in the immediately having given up drinking, so many people would be. I'd go to a show somewhere or go back to the Fringe, and people would go, "Oh, Ali, how you doing?" And I'd be like, "I've got no idea who you are. I'm really because I'd just forgotten them." And they were like, "Yeah, we like hung out," and I was like, really? I don't. I'm sorry, I don't know." Like, and just like kind of going, I wonder what I said. I wonder what I did. You know, yeah, those moments. But not really any. I don't think there's any really bad moments I can think of. Yeah.
So how can people find out all about you and where they can watch you performing?
Brice on everything, on all the social, at Twice Brice, and I also have a website, but I don't think it's been updated since for at least a year. Should probably get on that. But yeah, that's they're the places you can find out about me.
And so I have one final question, of course.
Yeah.
How, Ali, would you sum up comedy in a nutshell?
Comedy in a nutshell. I've been thinking about this. It's such a tricky question. The first thing that comes up is just fun. Like comedy to me in a nutshell is just it's a fun place that has probably helped me develop confidence that I wouldn't have otherwise had. And it's friendship and fun and like a lifetime love.
Ali, thank you so much for being my guest. I've really enjoyed our time with you. Thank you.
No, me too. I've loved it. Thanks for asking me. It's been an honour, and I mean that.